That before picture was before I started RV life, and the after one was after a couple years of RV life, right? And so like, what are the differences? What made that whole thing happen? And there are a couple different things. One of them, of course, is health itself. Like, what I've been eating is different, and the RV lifestyle itself allows you to get outside a lot more, breathe fresh air, have sunlight. All those different things are a factor and contribute to your overall health. So that's going to be a big thing. But I'm not going to discuss diet. What I am talking about is mindset. I think that contributes to the whole thing rather than just exercise and diet. So what is about the RV life that changes mindset or allows you to transform in different ways? Quick disclaimer though, not saying that the RV life is for anybody, really. I'm just going to give you some opinions and perspectives, and you can draw your own conclusions and do your own research. Overall, I found that it's actually by removing me from the usual triggers and people and surroundings and landscapes, I was able to see my life in a completely different way. And by seeing it in that different way, I could see where I was living under the default versus like really living intentionally the life I want to live. This is just freaking incredible. Getting outside of the usual construct, like the default, the usual way that people do things, it's going to give you perspectives you wouldn't have otherwise. And some part of that is being solo, because so many people are used to, doing things with others, as a way to cope almost. The constructs around you, the habits, the routines, they all prevent you from asking from the outside what is actually going on. When you can be outside of all that, then it's easier to see what's what. And a lot of people don't do that until something big comes along, like 2020 or some sort of health hazard or some sort of accident or whatever. And when you can intentionally take yourself outside of the construct and ask questions, I think it's hugely beneficial. Because nothing is normal. Like, life is not a series of static events. It's a dynamic, and you have a part in that. I mean, Greg Braden talks about the field, and of course there's Star Wars and all these other things. They talk about the field and really the law of attraction and law of assumption and the mirror principle. They all work off of the field, mirroring back to you, reflecting back to you, working with you as an energy. It is dynamic. Things are always changing. I've come upon the idea that, you can either live in an RV or you can use an RV to live. And I find myself bouncing between the two. And what I really like is using an RV to live, getting to these unusual places. And although my RV might not always be in these epic places, what I found most beneficial is to put my RV where I'm actually able to access epic places. So there's a trade-off between the two. You don't always have to put your RV in epic places, but you do. But what I figured out is that I do want to have it allow me to be in places so that my energy is higher, so that I'm accessing woods and situations where my energy level goes up. I'm happy. When I do that, I feel like I'm using the RV to live. But if I just go to RV parks and I don't explore the landscape and I'm just getting by, that's where I'm just living in an RV. And I feel like the negative side of the RV life comes through loud and clear, and it starts to be more of a drag. You start to realize the negative aspects a lot more when you just stick yourself in an RV park and just try to get by with the minimum. That's when things get a little less beneficial. There is this dynamic of moving. Like, moving with the RV life is beneficial because you get to refresh and you get to see new places. But when you're always doing that, it can be a burnout. So I think there's this balance also between staying in places, like for a couple months, and you start to understand the landscape and the people a little bit more. Then if you're always flying about to these different places, it grounds you a little bit more. And that's why I think there's a movement in some cases for people to have an RV pad, a place, a piece of land where they can go and ground themselves and then go out for a certain period of time. I mean, look at Bob Wells, the father of the RV, supposedly the father of the RV experience. He just bought a small piece of land, and now he's gone to a larger piece of land with more trees. but it grounds him a bit more. He still wants to travel 9 months of the year, but then the other 4, he'll stay in place. And I think there's that gives you a sense of grounding, and that grounding is important. It's figuring out what that grounding is for you. Like if you're a digital nomad, what does that really mean? Do you stay in one place for 4 months and then the other 9 months travel and do all sorts of things? I think that's the dynamic that each person learns when they're in the RV lifestyle. But that freedom between grounding and moving about allows you to see life in totally different ways, and allows you to basically have experiences that you wouldn't otherwise. And that's hugely beneficial. When you do that, you start to realize, okay, who are the people I could meet? What are the experiences I can have? And it just opens up so much more than if you're just living a static life, because life is dynamic. And when you live a little more dynamically, then you get to feel that sense than the static. And you grow, I think, a lot more, because it in some cases, like when you travel, you're gonna bump into yourself. And you're gonna have to grow from those experiences. And so, I don't know, I think it's all kind of a balancing act between all the different ways of being and living, and not accepting that, okay, people have to live a certain way or anything like that. Going, okay, well, if you look at cycles of life, it's not like the RV lifestyle is forever. It's like people use it for a certain period of time, and they might come back to it. And they might not, but they use it for the time that's good for them. And then they move on. And that's the real crux of it. It's using RV life like the RV. You're not doing it for the lifestyle. You're using the lifestyle to live. I mean, it stops being that for you. When it stops being something that allows you to live dynamically, when it stops being that adventure, that's the crux of it right there. You're using the lifestyle for a certain period of time. Like, let's say, for example, you're a writer and you want to write a book. The RV lifestyle is hands down one of the greatest ways to do that, because you're outside of the construct, you're outside of your usual routines. And you're alone, you're able to go to these places and just write and write and write and write and write. And you have experiences you wouldn't otherwise. So I think if you're a writer, if you're a creator, it gives you that opportunity to really branch out and really create. The beauty of traveling about is you get to have different landscapes. And that's why I think it's important to, if you're a creator, to be portable. I think it's important to get out and to interact with the world and create from that interaction. And that's where your energy goes up. And it's much more dynamic, much more vibrant. And that comes across on camera a lot more. I think as a creator, the RV lifestyle allows for a lot more possibilities than just staying in one place. Staying in a room somewhere, trying to get the perfect lighting, saying the perfect things. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's basically expanding beyond what's possible. Because basically, a lot of people will have like this 20 or 30 mile radius, the circle around them that they go to. And that's it. And that can satisfy people to no end. There is huge benefits to staying in one place and going deep with the people and the landscape and so on. Nothing wrong with that. And for a time, that can feed your soul. But when it stops feeding your soul, like that 20 or 30 mile radius, if it's not feeding your soul, branch out for a while, go places, do things. It's not forever. It's dynamic. You're going for the experience of it. When you stop thriving, it's time to ask, what's going to make you thrive? And so that's why the RV lifestyle and being a nomad can help out with that, to refresh your ideas on life. It's not a permanent thing. It's using that moment in time, that cycle, to refresh what's possible, to expand your boundaries. When you do that, life opens up a lot. And it's turning that alive energy into experiences that matter. And getting into the RV lifestyle won't automatically do that. It's not something that, like if you just get into the RV lifestyle, van life, or if you're kind of a digital nomad, boom, Mecca appears and all that kind of stuff. It's nothing like that, but it does expand your world. It's provided enough perspective that I've started to see beyond the matrix and realize more and to feel more alive. And it's still challenging in many different ways, especially with the solo aspect. Yet that's something I'm working on. I can't recommend the lifestyle, but I can recommend like looking at your life in different ways and going for at least 3 months where you're working with other people. You're not just vacationing, you're working. When you work alongside other people, something different happens. You're part of the community and you experience life like places differently. You become part of the place rather than just vacationing in a place for a week. And the transformation that can happen to you is amazing. And part of that transformation is realizing, like if you step fully into the RV life, you realize this meaningful phrase that says your new life is going to cost you your old. And that's very true. Like you're going to give up many different things if you just embrace it. It's deciding what your true journey is and then being intentional about that journey. And that's what I think the RV life does. It allows for that intentionality to come forth and for you to fully embrace it. And in that sense, I've seen where it's also opened up a bit more allowing than chasing things or thinking of things that have to go a certain way. Now, I still struggle with that for sure because, because you got to have things happen a certain way to take care of things. But as I open up to the possibilities, like instead of saying, oh, the law of attraction, it's this theoretical thing, it's like really going, okay, what's really possible with that? In the end, it's not the RV life. It's the ongoing quest for something more and being willing to unfold with it. That's what's brought on more transformation than anything else. The unfolding. The RV is just an RV. The mechanism, for which, the unfolding happens. But the transformation is what you're really going for. And how that transformation happens, that's a totally different aspect, right? And it's knowing when to balance here and there, I think, that makes that transformation possible. Whereas if you stick to your old methods of control, of thinking that you have to have everything figured out, that's not going to work so much anymore. I think that old control paradigm of the Matrix is going away. Some people call it the Great Awakening, the shifting that's happening. And I think when you embrace the unknown, which is what the RV life and nomadic life actually embraces, no matter what mechanism it is, when you embrace that unfolding and unknown, I think amazing things can happen. One vehicle for doing that is to create, to move from consumer to creator. And if you're interested in that, down below, I've got the 30-day Get Comfortable on Camera challenge. It's awesome. It does a transformation where you can use content to connect with others and to basically fuel your journey forward. So check that down below in the description. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like. Thanks a lot for watching.
Easy rider on the highway, station wagon going slow, windows open, you are basking in the bluegrass radio. It is easy